Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 114 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing all right.
Good. Good to hear it.
Yep.
Did you have a good week at work?
Yeah, work wasn't bad.
Good.
My boss was in town.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, that's work.
That's work, man. Work
Remember
is
that place?
work.
Remember that place?
I do remember what work's like. I do.
You miss work at all, man?
No, not one bit. I miss the people. I will say that. And I know a lot of them listen to the show. I do miss the people. There's some great people there.
Yeah.
I don't miss the actual work.
Do you remember what jeans used to be?
I still wear jeans.
Do you?
I wore them today. I had to leave the house.
Oh, but then as soon as you got home, you found the sweats pajama.
Exactly.
All right. I'm just checking.
All right, Gibbs, we've got a lot of Patreon and PayPal support, so let's run through those. We had Karen Stavala.
Hey, thank you.
Brandon Logue.
Thank you.
Kayla Nelson Hendricks jumped out at our highest level.
There's a name for you.
Melinda Mantilla.
Ooh, Mantilla.
Kiara Bird.
Thank you.
Katie O'Connor.
Thank you, Katie.
Connie Clark.
Connie.
Amanda Campbell.
Thank you.
Maggie Walker.
Thanks, Maggie.
Brittany LaBelle.
LaBelle.
Ansley Papazon.
Ooh, the Papazon.
Eleanor.
Thanks, Eleanor.
Kayla Bailey.
Hey, thanks, Kayla.
Lauren Verholst.
Verholster.
I think so.
Yeah.
Desi White.
Hey, Desi.
Jocelyn Hinnenkamp jumped out higher than our highest level.
The Hinden Camp.
Amy Breeden.
Thanks, Amy.
Stephanie Golden.
Oh, she's gold.
Emily Kate.
Thank you, Emily.
Pauline Cursis.
Wow. Paul, thank you.
Bianca Russell.
Bianca.
Dana Adams.
Thanks, Dana.
Jennifer Mosier.
Ooh.
Karazina Hart.
What a kerosene.
And Brian Schrum.
Hey, thanks, Brian.
So a lot of Patreon support there, but we've had a lot, and I'm trying to squeeze as many as I can. Now we go back into the vault, Gibbs.
Let's go back.
Back to the future. It's Fawn Olson.
Wow, Fawn, thank you.
Yeah, longtime supporter.
Thanks for hanging with us.
We appreciate that. And then we had a lot of PayPal support as well. We had Yvonne in the UK.
Hey, Yvonne.
Adam and Lindsay Newman.
Oh, thank you.
Melissa Buell.
Oh, debut.
Joseph Walton.
Hey, Joseph.
Candace Zugich.
Zujit.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Dog Tag Furniture.
Hey, Dog Tag.
Whatever that is. Sounds cool, though.
Woof, woof.
And Lowena Llewellyn.
Oh, Lowena.
LL.
Lowena.
So a lot of great support.
Yeah.
Can't thank everybody enough. I know I ran through it fast, but there was a lot of names.
You did.
All right, Gibbs. Right now, there is an episode out of True Crime All the Time Unsolved, and we're talking about Julie Ray Harper.
We are.
And there's a tie-in in this case to Tommy Lynn Sells.
There is.
One of, I don't want to say it's one of our favorite episodes, but it's an episode that you and I talk about a lot.
Yeah, it was a big episode.
It was
for
fascinating.
Us. Yeah, it had a lot of interesting parts to it.
It did. So there's a connection there.
There is.
Julie's son is murdered.
Yep.
They think she did it.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, here comes Tommy Lynn Sells and
twists and turns. Rabbit holes and all that good stuff.
Exactly. So make sure you check that out. And listen, CrimeCon is coming up in June, right? It's in New Orleans. We've mentioned it.
It is.
They've given us our code. So if you're thinking about going or you know you're going to sign up, make sure you use our code. It's Crime All the Time 19.
I even think if you contact them and give them the code and you already bought your pass, they might take it that way.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
For some reason, I think last
year.
year.
If you didn't use a code, maybe?
Yeah, I think last year they honored it. So I don't know. You need to reach out to them.
Yeah, give it a try. It helps us out.
Yeah, because I know some of you already bought your passes.
Sure. We've heard from a lot of people, and I'm really excited about it.
The good thing is me and Mike are not sharing a room the first night this time.
It's not going to happen. There's no snuggling.
Nothing.
There's no planes, trains, and automobiles. Nothing.
On my own.
Nothing like that.
On my own.
We did put out a Patreon-only episode yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
It's a good one.
I thought it was good.
Is on a guy named Doug Feldman.
The Harley killer to me.
Yeah, he's they call him the Terminator because he was shooting people on a Harley motorcycle.
Except he never come back.
He ain't never coming back from that.
He ain't coming back.
All right, Gibbs, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I'm ready.
This is one that we've had a lot of requests for, and it's one that I've had on the list for a long time, and it's the murder of Skylar Neese.
Yeah.
Happened in 2012. She was 16 years old. This was a murder that shocked the community and really the world once all the facts about what really happened came out. Because when the police finally announced the identity of her killers, number one, it turned out to be two high school girls. But then really, the big thing is they were her best friends. So in a lot of ways, this case has, some similarities with the Shonda Scherer case that you and I did. And that case scared us a little bit, right? As parents, that one kind of shook us up, and not just us. We heard from a lot of people. These kind of cases shake people up, and this one's going to be similar.
Yeah, I know those other ones shook me up.
When you get down to it and you start asking all the questions, I mean, really, how can anyone, let alone two young girls, plan and carry out the murder of their best friend? What possible reason could anyone have for doing that? I mean, let's face it, there's no reason. In most of the cases that we do, the reason that the killers have in their mind is so far out there. And it's going to be the exact same in this case.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting about this case as well is that it happened during the social media age, right? This case is not that old. Happened in 2012. So some of the things that happened before and after were caught on Twitter and Facebook. And we're going to talk about
social media.
Yeah, because like I always tell my kids, be careful what you put out there. It doesn't go away.
No, it stays, man.
Even if it's pulled off of Twitter or Facebook, somebody's probably got a screenshot of it or it's out there somewhere.
I still have that one of you.
I know, and you're holding it over my head.
I might blow it up
all the time.
When we sit at our table at CrimeCon, get one of those big stands, of you on this photo, and
it'll just be me wearing suspender and Lederhosen.
Well, I have that one too. I was going to start with the furry one.
Oh, you got a different one?
Yeah, I was going to roll out a different one each day.
Okay, all right. But let's talk a little bit about Skylar Neese. She was born on February 10th, 1996 to Dave and Mary Neese. She was born in 1996.
Yeah, same year my daughter was born.
It's like when you go into the gas station, regardless of what you're buying, a lot of times I'll look up, I'll see that sign.
Yeah.
There's like one for cigarettes and there's one for beer.
Oh, you got to be a certain age.
And I'm like, Cheesy Pete's, that's
your high school graduation date or whatever now.
Oh, it was way...
Well, now it's way over it.
Way over that, but I mean, if you were born in 2000, right, you can buy cigarettes.
I don't know. What's the age?
18.
Yeah, I've never smoked, so.
Yeah, 18.
Yeah, 18.
You can buy cigarettes, lottery, I guess, all that stuff. 2000.
2000. Man.
Now, Dave and Mary Neese didn't have any other children. So Skylar was an only child. She grew up near Morgantown, West Virginia. Morgantown is one of the bigger cities in West Virginia. It's home to West Virginia University, the Mountaineers.
Been there.
Have you?
Yeah.
I've never been there. I've been to West Virginia. I've been to some places in West Virginia. I've never been to Morgantown. I've never been to the West Virginia University. The one thing I know about them is they knocked my Wildcats out of the tournament.
Was that Bob Huskins or somebody like that?
Bob Huggins.
Huggins.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the actor, Bob Huskins or whatever.
I don't think... You're talking about the guy that played in Jessica Rabbit?
Yeah.
That's not Bob.
Not him?
I think his name's Bob, but it's not Hutchins.
Huskins? Or...
It does start with an H, but I can't
like
think of it.
English,
Yeah. Again, love when you add that really hard-hitting, pertinent, and factual information.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Add it to the library.
Exactly. But Morgantown is a little over an hour south of Pittsburgh. It's really just a little bit over 3 hours from both Columbus, Ohio, and Washington, D.C. So it kind of gives you an idea geographically of where it is in the country.
Been to D.C. too a few times.
Yeah, I have too. I really enjoy Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Did you go there like I did to do some advising?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
No. Not in an official government security clearance
Capacity.
activity like you would
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
I was more of a sightseer.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I acted like a sightseer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So I got to the tunnels and I worked my way to where I needed to be.
The only thing I don't like about Washington, D.C. is all the walking. I mean, you pretty much have to walk
Yeah.
most
Whereas
places.
you're going to park on K Street, which you're never going to find a spot there.
The Skylar had a very normal childhood. You know, she had loving parents. She was social. She had friends. And I think, Gibbs, she really just generally loved life. Skylar met Sheila Eddy when they were both around 8 years old. And although they didn't go to the same school, the pair hit it off and they became great friends. And I do think that's somewhat unusual, right? It's not unusual to meet someone that doesn't go to your school when you're that young, but unless they're your neighbor or live like right in your area,
Yeah.
it's weird to really develop that type of relationship and stay friends long term. But
Well, yeah.
that's what happened here.
That's not typical. That's for
Yeah, because
sure.
you're not going to see them every day at school like you would your classmates. But Skylar and Sheila had a great relationship. They did things together. They stayed all night at each other's houses. Skylar's parents have said that they thought of Sheila Eddy as part of the family.
Just another daughter.
Yeah, another daughter, to the point, Gibbs, that a lot of times she'd just walk into the house without knocking.
Kind of like me when I come over here.
Yeah,
Just come on in,
you're more than welcome.
pull up a chair.
I mean, there's a shotgun that is facing the door, but you're still more than welcome
Yeah,
to
but
come
you
in.
just don't pull the trigger. Yeah.
No.
Luckily, you're like, oh, it's Gibby, and you back away. So you only get mad when I sit in your chair.
But you know that's a really good friend.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you've had some over the years when you
Sure.
were younger. I had some like that. Just people that were around all the time.
Trusted him, didn't worry about anything.
No. When they came over, they just walked in and said, hey, what's going on?
Leave him in your house while you're gone.
But that's how close the pair was. But it wasn't until their freshman year at University High School that they attended the same school. And that's why I thought it was so strange. All the way from 8 years old, so probably around, what, Gibbs, second grade?
I think so.
Second, third grade?
Yeah.
I'm going second.
Go second.
To freshman year, they didn't attend the same school, but somehow managed to create this bond, this very close friendship,
Through MySpace.
and sustain it. Well, I think that's a good point. There had to have been some type of communication.
You've got mail.
I think it would have been a lot harder when you and I were kids in the 70s or early 80s.
It would have been really rough, man. You'd be like,
To
hey,
have-
you're home for the holidays.
Yeah,
What's up, man?
to have a friend that lived, I don't know how far she lived, but she didn't even live in the same town. But it was also at University High School that they met a fellow classmate named Rachel Shove. So Skylar and Sheila were best friends. They get to know Rachel, and it's like they become the three amigos, the three musketeers, three best friends. Rachel and Sheila didn't have any brothers or sisters either, so it was really the three of them. They did everything together. People that knew them said later on, you never hardly saw them apart. But there's that old saying, Gibbs, right? Three is a crowd.
Yeah.
And that saying exists for a reason. A lot of times when you have a trio, no matter what kind of, trio it is,
Right.
one person is going to get left out of things sometimes, squeezed out sometimes,
Sure.
pushed out. I mean, that's what's going to happen essentially in this situation. But talking about Skylar, she was intelligent, bubbly, hardworking. She was described as having these amazing bright blue eyes, ivory skin. She had a dimple in her chin. She was a very cute girl. She played the flute. She loved animals. And she was described by everyone as being extremely loyal. So if you were her friend or you were someone that she trusted, she would do anything for you. Never stab you in the back. Always be there for you.
The little nymph.
Yeah, exactly. She was energetic. She was positive.
I don't know how to describe her laugh. It was it was more a giggle. It was like a a little kid voice.
And as she was laughing at you, she'd be saying stuff and giggling at the same time. She was kind.
Very bubbly. Just
Bubbly.
always.
She had a smile that could light up a room.
So, Gibbs, that was Dave and Mary talking about their daughter, Skylar.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It is sad.
There's no doubt about it. But it's also interesting to hear them talk about Skylar and what they remember, right? They remember her laugh. They talked about that a lot. So I mentioned she's going to high school. She's also working part-time at Wendy's. She had a 4.0 grade average. And I think that's very impressive, right? Simultaneously holding down a part-time job, going to school, and getting straight A's.
Impressive.
She had a dream of becoming a criminal attorney. So to me, you put all these things together and what you get is a very impressive young girl positioning herself to do big things in the future. Now, all three of the girls, Skylar, Sheila, and Rachel, they were similar in some ways, but different in others. Sheila has been described as the dark-haired, sometimes it was bottle blonde, beauty of the group.
Kind of like you.
Yeah, I'm usually the beauty of the group.
Yeah.
Especially when I put on my Eric Estrada hairpiece.
Oh, that's the best piece.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
You should wear that for CrimeCon.
I will.
Need that. See if anybody notices.
Sheila was wild. She was fun to be around. She was like the life of the party type person.
Okay.
But she was also extremely controlling. She didn't always make the best decisions. And a lot of times people that are kind of wild and carefree don't.
Yeah, so she was a control freak.
I would say that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, wild and free.
For herself.
For herself.
Yeah.
But wanted to control what others did.
Yeah, that's a control freak.
Many of Skylar's other friends didn't like her. They thought she was a bad influence. Now, then you talk about Rachel. Rachel was taller. She had red hair. She was in the theater in high school. She acted in some plays. But she came from a very religious, somewhat affluent family. So she hadn't gone to school with either of these girls until high school because she attended Catholic school all the way up until it was time to go to the public high school. But really, when you look at all three of them, they were social. They all had friends. They all did pretty well in school. I mean, Skylar was either really bright or she cracked the books on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
Because she had a 4.0. But really, they were just normal teenage girls.
Like the ones upstairs?
Not quite like the ones that I have upstairs because they're going to do some things that, well, ultimately they're going to do some things that nobody
Should ever
do. But there's some facts about them that
push some boundaries
of doing some things that a lot of kids do that I hope my kids don't.
Yeah.
But, who knows?
You got good kids, don't worry.
So you have this trio of best friends and they go through freshman year and everything's really good, right? They have a great freshman year. They partied a little bit, and that's what I was talking about. They experimented with alcohol. They experimented with weed, as a lot of kids do.
Sure. Isn't that what a freshman year is?
Yeah. Especially freshman year in college, but in high school, I know kids are doing that. I'm hoping mine aren't. Their weekly drug test says they're not, but...
Is that why you had me piss in a cup again?
Yeah. I buy 3 every week. 2 for my kids and 1 for you. But in every group, Gibbs, you know this. There's a leader in every group.
Yeah. And thanks for following me.
Whether it's spoken or unspoken, right? You don't have to go around saying, hey, I'm the leader. There's usually someone that everybody kind of gravitates towards.
Oh, yeah.
Sets the agenda. Well, in this group, it was definitely Sheila. First of all, she's a controlling person.
Yes.
So that's part of it. But I think she was charismatic. She was wild and free. I think people liked to be around her. But then you talk about them getting into their sophomore year. And that's when things really started to change. Because the group dynamic started to shift around. It became Skylar and Rachel trying to hold on to their bond with Sheila. And think about it. For Skylar, this is a bond that she'd had for half of her life. This had been her best friend.
For a very long time.
Right. She's now 16 years old. They met when she was 8. Half of her life, this girl had been her best friend. Rachel's the new girl. But people change, right? They're older. They can drive. Hormones start kicking in.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things change. Sheila and Rachel had boyfriends, and they were sexually active.
So they got that in common.
Yeah, those two have that in common.
Yeah.
And Skylar was not. But she knew all the details. This is something that, she would write about in her diary. Sheila especially would confide in her, would tell her basically all the things that she was doing in pretty graphic detail.
Yeah, I think that's normal for a lot of friends at that age. They talk. I think they do.
No, I don't doubt that. Now, what's been said is maybe that's one of the reasons that Skylar hadn't become sexually active. She didn't need to. She was hearing it all from her friend.
Could have been scary too,
Yeah.
If you never have, you hear that kind of stuff, you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm good.
Now, and I don't know that Skylar partied as much as the other two, but she definitely did party. There's no doubt about that. She was involved in drinking and at least smoking weed. But you can see, Gibbs, like how under these circumstances, the bond between Sheila and Rachel may have grown stronger.
Well, it had to, because the other bond had to be getting weaker because they didn't have a lot of things in common.
Right.
When your other friend is having sex, partying more, you're with them more. It's just natural.
They're doing the same things you're doing.
Yeah.
And the third person is not.
Right. So it's just going to be a natural course.
And there were signs that started to appear showing that the relationship between Skylar and Sheila, lifelong friends essentially, began to fray. And like I mentioned, a lot of this played out through social media and especially Twitter. These girls were really into Twitter. Like a lot of people do, they spend a lot of time on social media documenting their memories, their feelings. I've seen stats that say within the year or two of the three of them kind of forming this trio, they sent around 10,000 tweets.
That's a lot of tweets,
That seems like a lot.
Man, that's a lot.
In one article, it said, and I don't know how they did this calculation, they said that between text messages and tweets and other social media, Facebook and whatever, Sheila Eddy touched her phone like 900 times a day.
Really?
Because they had calculated, and that was just for...
Oh, because they see how many times she tweeted, and she'd had to touch her phone X amount of times.
How many incoming and outgoing messages? And that was 900. That's not playing games. That's not anything else.
That's crazy, man.
That's a big number.
Yeah. I think today, at least on the iPhones, I know there's some app or some, not even an app, just part of your iPhone.
Like the operating system?
Yeah. There's a button you hit. It will tell you how long you were active on your phone. How many keystrokes you performed, your swipes or whatever. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, there you go. Mine's always low.
I guarantee you mine's low because, number one, I don't like to talk on the phone.
I never see you with your phone.
No.
Never.
Half the time I don't even know where it is. I just don't want to be tied to it.
Yeah. Well, you're not.
I'm not.
You don't even wear your Apple Watch anymore.
No. I bought an Apple Watch. I ended up giving it to my wife just because I like watches.
Yeah.
And I have a big collection of watches. But with that, it's almost like that's the only watch you can wear. So I ended up giving it to her.
Well, she'll get more use out of it because she's, fitness person.
Sure.
So tell her every time she needs to stand or do a push-up or something, I'm sure of it.
All right, Gibbs, let's take a quick break to talk about our new sponsor, Care Of. Care Of is a monthly subscription vitamin service that delivers completely personalized vitamin and supplement packs right to your door. So I've made a goal this year to get healthy. I want to lose some weight. I just want to feel better. And I'm using Care of to help me build a vitamin routine that's made just for me and my health goal. So when you go on the website, they have an online quiz and it asks you about your diet, what your health goals are, what you want to do. It only takes about 5 minutes to find out your personally scientifically backed vitamin supplement recommendation. And then your subscription box comes to your door every month with personalized daily packs. And it's pretty cool. Each one says, "Hi, Michael," for me. Thought it was a cool touch. And a portion of every sale goes towards the Good Plus Foundation, which provides expectant mothers in need with valuable prenatal vitamins. And for me, I found it to be the best and easiest way to get the vitamins that I need and the ones that I want. Well, all I do is take out the little daily pack, open it up, take those, and I'm good to go. So take advantage of this month's special New Year offer. For 50% off your first month of personalized Care of vitamins, go to takecareof.com and enter our promo code TCAT50. That's TCATT 50. That's takecareof.com, promo code TCAT50. But getting back to this massive number of tweets, I mean, most of them were mundane, right? Like teenagers do. I had spaghetti for dinner.
Yeah.
I like the Kardashians, whatever.
You do like the Kardashians.
I do not. I'm saying that's what they were saying.
You've got their T-shirt on right now. Is that Chloe or the other?
I don't even know their names. That's how bad it is.
Okay.
But one thing that was fascinating, of the roughly 10,000, half of them were put out by Sheila. So there's 3 of them to make 10.
Yeah.
She
dominated.
She made almost 5,000 tweets during this time period. And some of them were, I'll say, a little out there. I saw some that said, "I wish it was acceptable to be naked all the time." This is a 16, 17-year-old girl in high school.
Yeah.
Saying that. "I cannot express how much I love being naked."
Hey, as long as you look good and of age, do what you want. But that's young. So, like right now, maybe I'll just strip down. Just like that Seinfeld episode on the train, on the subway. Jerry falls asleep, wakes up. Next thing he knows, he sees that guy reading the newspaper with all his clothes off.
Well, you do know you're in my house. So your freedom only extends so far.
There's boundaries.
To get naked, yes.
We're going to have the boundary talk again?
Yeah, your First Amendment rights kind of got chopped in half a little when you walk through my door.
You don't even let me take my shoes off, man.
There was one Gibbs that said, "If you talk about how much you love Justin Bieber, I probably want to stab you." Now, it's actually kind of funny. I don't really care for Justin Bieber either, but it's not funny once we know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's almost like a little bit of foreshadowing. The girls also took a lot of selfies. They posted those online. Again, this is just all stuff that normal kids do. But then an incident occurred at a sleepover involving the 3 girls. And this was something that Skylar documented in her diary. So apparently they were staying over at one of the girls' house. They raided the liquor cabinet. They got a little tipsy. And Skylar walked in on Sheila and Rachel having some type of intimate moment.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure if that started the slide, but it was the spring of 2012 when things started to unravel. And again, you can tell from the girls' documented tweets that something was going on. Skylar wrote, "Too bad my friends are having lives without me. A girl, a bitch, a bitch." So this is a tweet that Skylar put out.
Okay.
In May of that year, she said, "You're a two-faced bitch and obviously fucking stupid if you thought I wouldn't find out." The problem with tweets is there's no context. You know, number one, it's not to anyone in particular. A tweet isn't.
Unless you tag someone in.
Right. These are just tweets out in the world.
Gotcha.
But I think as we go along, because we're going to talk a lot about tweets and stuff in this episode, you can pretty much figure out that it's directed at one of these 2 girls, most likely. In June, Skylar posted a couple of tweets that have been dissected. The first one said, "Won't miss anyone from school over summer, because if we're really friends, we'll hang out. If we aren't, we won't. Just know I know." So it's really that last part that's been dissected.
Just know I know?
Yeah, just know I know. The second one said, I'd tell the whole school all the shit I have on everyone, which is a lot. Hashtag if I could get away with it. That one's really been dissected. A lot of people have said that, some of these tweets, especially that last one, was a veiled threat of exposing what she knew about this affair or relationship or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Between Sheila and Rachel.
Oh, I think, there's good reasoning behind it.
Sure.
That it was that. Plus, they were fighting all the time at this point,
Well,
too.
that's the thing. They were fighting a lot. Classmates would come out later and said, it was evident. They saw it every day in their interactions at school. But all of that brings us up to July 5th, 2012. Skylar worked her shift at Wendy's, and then she came home. And she actually sent the last 2 tweets that she ever made just before she left her shift at Wendy's. One read, "You doing shit like that is why I will never completely trust you." And the last one said, "All I do is hope." But again, you can't tell who these are directed to, but who else would it be, right? Given what we've talked about. So she comes home, her parents are in the living room watching TV. Skylar kissed them both, told them she was tired and that she was going to bed. Skylar's dad, Dave, woke up the next morning to find his daughter's bed had not been slept in. He found the screen to her bedroom window had been removed, and there was a step stool under the window.
Telling sign, for sure.
Yeah, for me, that's panic. I think I would be in panic mode, realizing that my daughter wasn't home. She had crept out of the window the night before and never came back. So they're worried about her. They're worried about the scene in her bedroom. But things get worse when Skylar doesn't show up to her shift at Wendy's, because she had never once missed a shift since she started working there.
That's bad.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah.
And they're extremely worried. They called 911 to report her missing.
Well, of course, you'd have to.
So the police came out, they took a report, and said they would start investigating. Now, the one thing that the Neeses knew, they knew that Skylar didn't run away. Her contacts were still in her room. She took her purse and her cell phone, but she didn't take the cell phone charger.
Knowing that she was coming back, she didn't need it, right?
Right.
Just running out for a little bit, I'll charge my phone tonight.
There is not a teenager on the planet that would leave their charging device at home, some way to charge their phone,
Never.
if they plan to be gone for any length of time. It just wouldn't happen.
No. They wouldn't be able to survive if they didn't have their phone.
Now, later that day, Skylar's parents received a call from Sheila Eddy, and Sheila proceeded to tell them what happened the night before. So what she said was that it was her, Skylar, and Rachel. They had all snuck out of their houses to meet up. They were going to go driving around. They said they picked Skylar up at 11 p.m. They drove around, they smoked some weed, and then Sheila and Rachel dropped Skylar back off just before midnight. So from that chronology, they weren't gone very long.
No.
Less than an hour.
Seems logical.
It seems logical that they would be gone less than an hour, or it seems logical that
What they're saying.
the chronology
chronology.
says they're, yeah. But apparently they said Skylar was worried about waking up her parents. So she asked them to drop her off down the road a little bit. It's a common tactic, right? In the old days, me and my buddy used to take out his mom's car when we were like 14.
Yeah.
But we would have to put it in neutral
Then
and move it down the driveway far enough before we started it up.
been there, done that.
And then we'd drive for about 3 or 4 hours at night. We were like 14 years old.
Just
it was
having fun, man.
crazy.
My mom used to have a vet. We used to take that out like that. We weren't supposed to touch it.
A Corvette?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This was a Chevette.
Oh, I had a Chevette. I remember those days. No, this was a Corvette. Stingray. My brother used to take my dad's Corvette out. It was like a...
Well, shit, Gibbs, how many
63.
Corvettes did you guys
It
have?
was 63 red with the white, wing panel things on the side.
Richie Rich over here has got multiple Corvettes.
They were just in a Corvette phase at one point.
Oh, yeah.
We still had the ugly green wagon with the panel running down the
Like
side.
the family truckster?
Yeah, yeah. We had that for a while. That was always sweet where I had to take out.
Now, a lot of people came out to help search for Skylar, right? This is something that we see in a lot of the cases that we do. At one point, both Sheila and Rachel joined in the search. So they're out there to be good friends, right? Their good friend is missing, their best friend. They want to help.
Yeah, I'm here to help.
Police tracked Skylar's cell phone. They tracked her credit cards. None of them were used. Police did find some surveillance video from the apartment complex that showed Skylar getting out of her window and getting into an unknown car at 12:35 a.m.
Okay, so at least they were able to get a detailed time.
Yeah, they could definitely pinpoint the time, 12:35 a.m. This was in the parking lot, and then the car drove away. The problem was the video wasn't great. It was black and white. It was said to be pretty grainy.
Yeah, those videos can be pretty rough.
They couldn't get much information from it, but they had Sheila's and Rachel's story. But they wanted to interview them directly, and I think, Gibbs, they were suspicious of them from the very start. Police said that Sheila didn't act as you would expect someone to act if their best friend was missing.
So not emotional at all.
Nope, not emotional, very flat. And one article, it said the only time she got emotional was when they asked some probing questions that she didn't want to answer.
Then she got the old
Then
tears in
she
the
would
eye.
bring out the waterworks. And Rachel had gone to a 2-week Catholic church camp. So police called and talked to her on the phone. And again, the conversation was described as very nonchalant, not an ounce of worry about her supposed best friend. But one of the biggest things I took from what the investigator said was that their stories were exactly the same. It was said that they were essentially verbatim, and that raised suspicion. Very rarely do two people say the exact same things. If they do, that normally means that they've rehearsed it, they've talked about it ahead of time, and they're both spouting the same exact details.
Yeah.
Now, initially, the Neese family stood up for the girls. Right? They couldn't believe that there was any way these two girls who were, at their house all the time,
Like family. Sisters don't do that to other sisters.
No, could have been involved in any way in anything bad happening to Skylar. But that would soon change. Police found Skylar's diary in her room, and they read about the story that she wrote, how the three got drunk, what she witnessed Sheila and Rachel doing. So this raised their suspicion a little bit.
Naturally.
Meanwhile, Sheila and Rachel are back at school. They're going on with their lives, but there were a lot of rumors flying around the school about what happened to Skylar, which you would imagine would happen in any case such as this. People thought she ran off, maybe she OD'd on drugs, but a lot of the rumors included Rachel and Sheila, because remember, they very rarely did anything apart. The three of them were attached at the hip for much of the time. Some of their classmates knew something wasn't right because Sheila and Rachel, they continued to post on social media, but it really wasn't what you would think they would be posting. It wasn't the, "Where are you, Skylar? Come back, Skylar. Please, people, prayers and thoughts about Skylar." It wasn't that. It was the, "I want to be naked. I like the Kardashians. Let's go party."
Everything but what you would think you should be posting for somebody if you cared and loved about.
Yeah, they would throw one of those in every now and then, but it was very strange. And people began calling them out on it. They began replying, posting comments saying that Rachel and Sheila would be uncovered. Essentially saying, "Hey, we know you had something to do with this." Sheila posted a tweet that said, "No one on this earth can handle me and Rachel, and if you think you can, you're wrong." And it wasn't just other kids. So the police got in on this act as well. They actually had a younger officer pose as a high school kid, interact with them, monitor their posts. And again, it was just a bunch of posts about partying, living it up. And they would sprinkle in every 30 or 40 posts something about Skylar. It just wasn't what people thought
They should
be doing.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people looked at the occasional Skylar post as a show, doing that for effect. So the police questioned a lot of people, right, during this investigation. They questioned a lot of students. When they interviewed Sheila and Rachel for a second time, they showed up with attorneys. Out of all the high school kids interviewed, they were the only two people that brought an attorney. But this investigation, Gibbs, it dragged on for months and months. At one point, Sheila took a polygraph, which she didn't do that great on. And Rachel was on her way to the station to take a polygraph when she jumped out of her father's car.
Wow. That's telling, too.
It's not a good sign.
No, it's not good.
She just jumped out of the car and ran off to someone else's house.
Yeah. I'm not going to do this.
By this point, the Neeses were no longer defending Sheila and Rachel. And Skylar's mother actually went on the offense a little bit. She took to Facebook with a post that said, "These girls are more guilty than originally suspected. It looks like foul play has occurred and murder has not been ruled out." So at this point, Gibbs, these girls, they must have been feeling a tremendous amount of pressure. The police are questioning them. Lie detector tests. A bunch of people are accusing them on social media, calling them out, including Skylar's own mother. It got so bad that they stopped going to school. They started homeschooling. But I look at Sheila Eddy, and I don't think she was ever going to crack. I just think there was something in her makeup. You look at her tweets, you look at her posts, I don't think she was going to crack at all. But that wasn't the same for Rachel. She got to the point where she did crack. She flipped out one day at her house. Her mom and dad had to restrain her, and they ultimately had to call 911 and say, you know what, hey, our daughter's out of control. She's hitting us. She's flipping out. She was admitted to a mental health facility. And it's there in January 2013, Rachel made the decision to tell the truth.
Just couldn't keep it bottled up anymore.
No.
Man. It just ate at her.
Yeah. And I think that says something about her. Now, what it says, I don't know. Maybe that she's not quite as cold-blooded as Sheila was.
She's got a little bit of human in her.
She's got a little bit of a heart. It's just a little sliver. Because I honestly don't believe Sheila Eddy had any remorse. I just don't think she had any feelings in a negative way about what she did, which we're getting ready to talk about.
Well, it was all about her.
It was.
Her whole life was about her, only her.
I think you're right. So what happened was Rachel had her attorney contact the authorities to try to work out a deal. And they did. They struck up a deal, and they got her to wear a wire when Sheila showed up at the hospital to see her, and she tried to get Sheila to incriminate herself, but it didn't work.
Sheila pretty sharp?
Yeah, I don't know if she knew something was up by this point. She didn't fall for it.
Saw the police around in the other room with the headphones on?
Yeah, maybe. But it didn't matter. I mean, Rachel told them everything. She said Skylar and Sheila were always fighting, and it really kind of started out as a joke between Rachel and Sheila that they should get rid of Skylar. They didn't need her.
Kind of like how we talk about Morph.
A little bit, yeah. We don't need Morph.
You don't need Morph. Criminology would be all right without him.
He's going to hear this and crack up. But it escalated. This talk escalated one day. They were in science class when they finally decided to do it. So it was no longer talk. They had made the decision. They were going to get rid of Skylar Neese.
And that's the scary part, when people joke all the time, or say stupid scenarios.
People say things they don't mean in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff like that happens.
I wish he was dead. Mm-hmm. But they don't really. I mean, maybe at that moment they kind of do. But if they had the knife in their hand, would they really push it through?
No, most people would not. So Rachel was scheduled to go on this Catholic church camping trip in about a month. And they decided to plan it out so that this happened right before she left. So they got a shovel. They got some knives, some cleaning supplies, and they loaded all of this into the trunk of Sheila's car. And on the night of July 5th, they drove to Skylar's apartment, early morning of the 6th, whatever you want to call it. They called her on the phone to come out and join them. And they had these knives hidden in their sweatshirts. They told Skylar they were going to drive somewhere, they were going to smoke, they were going to get high. And they did. They found a secluded place. They'd probably done this, numerous times before. But once they got to the place, the girls began to count to 3. This was something they had talked about beforehand. When they got to 3, they took out their knives and they began stabbing Skylar in the back and in the neck. At one point, she got away and she started to run, but they caught up with her, chased her down, and they just continued stabbing her until she died. Their intention was to bury her. That's why they brought the shovel along. But they couldn't break up the ground with the shovel. And a lot of people don't realize, depending where you live, depending on what kind of ground it is, it's not always like in the movies where you can just step on it and you're going to be pulling out these huge clods of dirt. I mean, there's areas of the country that are so rocky. I mean, we here in Ohio have a ton of rock.
Yeah.
In our soil.
Clay and rock, yeah. Limestone.
So that didn't work the way they thought it would. So they ended up dumping Skylar's body off the road, hidden under some tree branches. So Rachel's telling authorities all of this. And they start talking about, what did Skylar say as this was happening? And Rachel said, her last words were, why? It's just one word, why? Looking up at them as if saying, why are you doing this to me? How could you do this to me?
Right.
But it's when authorities ask Rachel why they did it that they get what is really a chilling answer, because she said, well, we didn't like her anymore. As simple as that.
Simple.
I mean, to me, it gives me chills to think that's the basis. That's the reasoning to take another human being's life. You know what? We didn't like her anymore. We didn't want her in the group.
So we're just going to offer.
Exactly.
That's what we're going to do.
Rachel led authorities to the spot where they dumped Skylar's body, and they found a body. But remember, this is months and months later. And by the time they found it, the head was missing.
Terrible.
It is. It's gruesome. Now, they didn't do that, right? That was scavengers, animals, something. They would eventually find the skull. But what they did find was a cell phone. And they were pretty easily able to determine that it was Skylar's phone. It had pictures of the 3 of them on it. Not hard to tell whose phone it is.
No way to deny that.
No. It wouldn't be for a couple of months that they would positively ID the body as Skylar Neese. I think one thing that's interesting in this case, Gibbs, is they didn't arrest either one of these girls during this whole period of time, right? Rachel's already admitted what they did. Months goes by. So she does this in January. They find the body. They don't ID the body till March. They still have not arrested either of these girls. But what police said is that they wanted to make sure they had enough evidence against Sheila. And probably to do that, they didn't want to tip their hand by arresting Rachel. But what ends up happening is these girls are still on social media. They're tweeting.
Like nothing happened.
They're posting.
Like nothing happened.
Well, they had to have known something happened because their relationship kind of fizzled. And I think they started sniping at each other on social media. But Rachel even went on a vacation with her mother in April. This is 3 months after she told police what they did. They allowed her to go on a vacation with her mom. I mean, she was posting vacation pictures, living it up, having a great time. So Sheila was apparently obsessed with the show Law and Order SVU. She tweeted about it a lot. Oh, can't wait to watch Law and Order SVU, Marathon, all these different things. But towards the end, there was a tweet that said, I wonder if they ever have an episode where they don't figure out what happened.
Okay.
So it's like all these tweets are like very telling. It's almost as if these tweets are tipping their hand, right? When you're tweeting out what you're thinking, Well, you're telling everybody what you're thinking.
You are. It's out there.
And Sheila made a bunch of tweets that in ways seem to be related to Skylar and or her murder. In one, she said, "We really did go on 3." Again, there's really not much context to it.
No, but
After what Rachel said, that they went on 3, you can put that together pretty easily. There was one that said, "If you only knew, you'd shit down your leg."
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, if you only knew what?
Tell me what.
What we did.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm making an inference, but
But I think most people probably did too.
I think so too. One said, "I hate seeing or hearing things that remind me of you because you're the last person I want to be reminded of." So again, this is Sheila. To me, that tweet's probably only directed at one of two people, either Skylar or Rachel. Because at this point, her and Rachel are kind of fighting. But to me, I see it as more of a comment about Skylar. Because Skylar's in the news all the time. So Sheila and Rachel were eventually arrested. Sheila was arrested in a Cracker Barrel parking lot on May 1st, 2013. I'm not sure why I laughed there, but there's just something funny to me about being arrested in a Cracker Barrel parking lot.
Yeah.
She was shocked. I really think, Gibbs, that she thought she was going to get away with this murder.
She was hoping.
I don't know. I think she was almost more than hoping. Because again, this is May of 2013. It's almost a year since the murder. It's a good 10 months for sure. Apparently, she told one of the arresting officers, "Please don't put me in with any bad people." Well, I got news for you.
You're the bad person.
You're a bad person, but if you get arrested for murder, chances are you're going to be in with some bad people.
And you deserve to be in with some bad people.
And you might have some bad things happen to you. Then she asked the officer, "You're going to put me in the back of the car? People will see me." And the guy says, "Yes, Sheila, you're being arrested for murder." It's almost like she was ashamed to be in the back of the car, wasn't fully getting the gravity of the situation. Being seen in the back of the car should be the least of your worries at this point. Both Sheila and Rachel were charged as adults. And it was the next year, January 24th, 2014, Sheila Eddy pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. So again, Gibbs, this isn't a case where we're going to go into trial. I mean, they both pleaded guilty. She actually took a plea, which, for pleading guilty, prosecutors dropped the kidnapping charge as well as some conspiracy charges. So, I mean, she still got life for murder, but she'll actually be eligible for parole in 2028. The one thing about Sheila is she never said a thing to Skylar's family. And I found that hard to believe. This is a girl that, like we said, was considered part of the family, had been at their house, had probably eaten dinner with them hundreds and hundreds of times, killed their daughter, and doesn't say a word to them. Not a sorry, not a "I can't believe I did this," nothing.
Sheila Eddy, how do you plead to the offense of murder in the first degree of the felony charged in count 3 of the indictment in this case?
Guilty.
So I just wanted to play a little bit so you could hear her talk. All she says was guilty, but there really wasn't much to it.
No, that's it. Sounds a little sad, but...
Well, as verbose as she was on social media,
right,
she was the exact opposite when it came to talking to the cops and in court. It was one-word answers, yes, no, things like that. The very next month, Rachel Schoaf pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 to 30 years. So that's what she got in her plea for helping the police, telling them about everything that happened. She'll be eligible for parole in 2023. So she's only eligible for parole 5 years earlier than Sheila, but I think her chances of getting out are much, much better. I mean, her sentence is only 10 to 30 years. So
10 to 30?
10 to 30. Now, I say only 10 to 30 years. That's a long time if you did 30 years in prison. But that's not me feeling sorry for her at all, obviously. The thing about Rachel, though, is she gave a very long apology. It was very, from what I thought, Gibbs, very sincere to the Neese family during her sentencing phase. But her father wasn't buying it. He said, "You can never say you're sorry to me or my wife because you're not. There will never be closure for us as far as you two are concerned. You defied our trust." And I got a short clip of him I want to play.
Yes, Rachel Schoaf did tell us where Skylar was. Yes, Rachel Schoaf did cooperate. And Rachel Schoaf also murdered my daughter in cold blood. Skylar would not be where she was if it wasn't for Rachel Schoaf. You said yourself, Your Honor, this is first-degree murder. She should not give any leniency, and she can take her apologies and everything else and sit on them because that's about what they're worth to me and my wife. She has done nothing but make our lives a living hell since this day one. She did cooperate in the end because she knew that it was closing in on her, and yes, she would be caught. That's the only reason she feels remorse. Your Honor, I ask you to give her 40 years and plus if you can. Thank you, sir.
So there you can hear him, and I don't blame him at all.
No. I mean, you put trust in your child's friends and what they did and how they did it. It's just, yeah.
Well, such a callous murder, too.
Yeah, I mean, nothing needed to happen. There was no reason behind it.
So I mentioned Rachel's family right up front. Very religious, somewhat affluent family. They issued an apology through their attorney. And they said, "There's no way to describe the pain that we too are feeling. We are truly sorry for the pain that she has caused the Neese family, and we know her actions are unforgivable and inexcusable. Our daughter has admitted her involvement, and she has accepted responsibility for her actions. Our hearts are broken for your loss, and we are still trying to come to terms with this event." I mean, this wrecked their lives as well, right?
Oh,
Completely destroyed the Neese family.
Yeah. Everybody involved came out damaged.
Yeah, I mean, the other families, they're shattered as well. I mean, how would you ever come to terms with the fact that the daughter that you raised would make the decision to do something so horrible to someone else? I asked the question, but I don't think you could ever come to terms with it. It's just not possible, right? In your mind, you could never reconcile how she could have done that. Now, one thing, Gibbs, we have to talk about is this diary entry, this incident that happened where Skylar saw Rachel and Sheila. Neither Skylar's family nor the police believe that Eddie and Schoaf killed Skylar because they were afraid she would out them. Police believe, in talking with the girls, that this was more of a thrill kill, right? They got a thrill out of this. But there's no doubt not everyone thinks that way. There are a lot of people that believe these two girls murdered Skylar Neese because they were scared. They were scared that she would start telling people things they didn't want to get out. And it's why I thought it was important to kind of go through those tweets. You know, some of them seemed like veiled threats. And I think that's why a lot of people, they point to those tweets and say, she was close. She was thinking about, doing whatever, telling the whole school, putting them on blast, whatever the kids are saying these days.
Put them on blast.
Putting them on blast.
Put them on blast.
Yeah. But I don't know what the real answer is. All I know is that Rachel and Sheila didn't give that as the reason. And Skylar's mother came out in interviews and said, she had a number of friends that were lesbians. She would have never outed someone that didn't want to be outed.
Right.
Even if she was fighting with them, it just wasn't the type of person that she was. That's what her mother said. Both Sheila and Rachel are incarcerated in the same facility, the Lakin Correctional Facility in West Columbia, West Virginia. And I had to look it up, Gibbs, but West Columbia is right on the Ohio River, on the border between Ohio and West Virginia. It's really not all that far from us.
Pretty close.
Not too far.
Pretty close.
But the one thing about it is that I know at Rachel's sentencing hearing, her attorney argued for the fact that they should not be housed in the same correctional facility because of the fact that Rachel turned on Sheila, right? She gave her up. It does seem like it would be a bad idea unless they are somehow 100% separated.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's a good recipe at all. Mary and David Neese, Skylar's parents, they continue to talk about her story. And they put forth, or helped get put forth, something called Skylar's Law. And it's basically an addition in West Virginia to the Amber Alert. And what it does is it allows the Amber Alert coordinator to determine whether or not an Amber Alert should be issued, as opposed to letting the law enforcement agencies figure out or decide whether or not to put out an Amber Alert. So you have a coordinator who looks at all the facts and all of this and says, you know what, I know it hasn't been X amount of time, but this person is not a likely candidate to run away. This is what I'm thinking. And so we're going to go ahead and do it. And I think also they're trying to get it expanded into some other states. And we see this in a lot of cases, right? The parents want something positive to come out of this tragedy. They're never going to get their daughter back, but can they do something good in her memory? And that's what they're trying to do.
Which is good.
It is good. Because I think, if you look back at when Skylar first disappeared, I think the very initial thought by police was that she ran away. And so technically didn't fit the criteria for an Amber Alert.
Right.
That criteria is child is believed to be abducted, is under 18, may be in danger of death or serious injury, and there is sufficient evidence to indicate that an Amber Alert would be helpful in locating the missing child. I think a lot of times when people go missing, especially kids, the first thought is, well, they ran away. They'll be back. I think the problem with that, Gibbs, is the first X, whatever it is, 24 hours, 48 hours, is like the most important time. In solving a lot of cases, that's where kind of the crucial period is. So if you're basically sitting on the sidelines and waiting that period out, and now we're going to start an investigation, you've lost that very crucial time. I don't know, Gibbs. These cases, I said up front, they scare me.
Yeah, these cases give me nightmares, man.
And they should.
You just don't expect the youth to be like this.
No, I mean, we're parents. And I was thinking about it earlier today. There's no way to know every single thing, every single moment of the day that your child is thinking or that your child is doing. Especially as they get older, they get more freedoms. They've got a car, they're driving, they're staying at friends' houses, things like that. There's no way for parents to know every detail of what is going on. For me personally, I just hope that, I've taught them the right lessons and that they'll make the best possible decisions in different situations. I try to get to know their friends. I try to get to know their friends' families, things like that. But, who they're hanging out with, who they're dating. But you just never know, and you can't know everything. I do think at the end of the day, it comes down to decision making, right? On the part of a child, the same way it does as an adult. Right? You and I cover mostly cases about adults. They make a decision to either do the right thing
or
kill somebody. And these girls had that very same decision.
They had the choice. That day in that class, they made the decision, but they thought this would be a good thing to do.
I still don't know how they come up with that. It boggles my mind. And I do think today, with the element of social media, right? Something you and I didn't have as a 16-year-old. We'll just use the age 16. I think today kids have a lot more choices. They have more decisions to make about what they do in real life, and you can say in the digital world, as it doesn't quite seem like real life, but it has real world, real life consequences, right? You say the wrong thing online, you make a threat against somebody online.
It's damaging, man.
Yeah.
And it's there.
You say you're going to do something at school that is violent, you're going to get suspended or expelled in real life. So again, all you can do is monitor, right, the best you can and hope that you've put your kids in a position to make the right decisions. That is it for the murder of Skylar Neese. We got some voicemails though, Gibbs. You want to cleanse?
Let's cleanse.
Let's cleanse a little.
Hi, this is Sherry from Panama City, Florida, actually Lynn Haven, but Panama just got a Category 5 hurricane, and thank God my twin daughters told me about podcasting before this happened because we've had no power, no water, no cable, and you guys have really sustained me through this and kept me sane listening to true crime. Anyway, thanks so much for what you do, and I'm not either way. I'm both Gibby and Fergie. So you guys keep doing what you're doing. Thanks. Bye.
We're helping out in the time of crisis in a hurricane.
That's what we do. We're like FEMA, but not.
Okay.
FEMA podcast.
FEMA podcast. I do love Panama City. Or let's say I did when I was in college. I haven't been there in quite a number of years.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. I'm calling from Lafayette, Louisiana. Love your show. But I just had to mention on the Russell Williams podcast, Mike, if I heard you say nuclear instead of nuclear, keep your own time ticking.
Boy, Gibbs, I got some shit about nuclear. But I will say this. I know I say nuclear, and to me it sounds better, and I think I'm going to keep saying it that way.
Nuclear?
Mm-hmm. My wife also says it that way, too. We figured that out the other night. We both say it the exact same way.
Okay. It's an Ohio thing? How would I say it? Nuclear?
I don't know how you say anything.
Nuclear. Nuclear.
I don't know. Say it.
Nuclear.
Well, that's the way I said it.
Yeah.
But it's actually nuclear.
Nuclear.
See, when you just add 3 syllables to it.
I just added up, you know.
But that's one that I don't know if I can change. Nuclear just sounds so much better to me, and it's much easier to say it that way. I think I'm going to stick with it.
You going to stick with it?
Yeah.
All right. Nuclear.
Hey, guys. This is Chelsea calling from Louisville, Kentucky. Go Wildcats. I just wanted to give a shout out to you guys. I just started listening to you all about a week ago. I had never listened to podcasts before. I just typed true crime into the search bar. You all popped up. I've listened to about 4 different podcasts. You all are my absolute favorite. I love the way you tell your stories. I am going backwards. I'm in about the 80s right now. I'm getting ready to listen to Melignato, which of course happened right here in Louisville. And I remember hearing about it as a kid. So I'm excited to listen to it and hear your all's take on it. I love the way you all share. I think you all really compliment each other. And I would also like to find out how to become a Patreon that I've been hearing you all talk about. I just love listening to you guys. I'm a true crime junkie, and I just think you all are great. So I'm going to go listen to Melignato now. And like you guys always say, keep your own time ticking. See ya.
Well, we sure appreciate that, Chelsea.
Yeah, it was good. That was a good voicemail.
And go Wildcats.
Cool. There is the Wildcat.
So becoming a Patreon member, and it's not something that you and I talk about really on the podcast. No. We give shout outs, but
we do.
It's really easy. You just go to patreon.com/truecrime all the time.
Look it up.
Don't be telling people what to do.
Look it up.
I said you can go.
No, you need to do it. That extra episode's worth it, man.
You're like, you need to do it.
That extra episode's worth it.
Hello, Mike and Gibby. This is Kelsey. I just wanted to call real quick and say thank you to both of you for putting out such a great podcast. You know, in marriage, they always tell you to pick your battles. My husband and I just found out we were pregnant with our first child, and we're getting rid of all of our subscriptions to make money for it. And you guys are the battle I picked with my Patreon subscription. So I wanted to tell you how awesome you guys are and how much that means. And not only that, but your podcast is the very first thing I do in the morning is put it on to help me keep my mind off of how sick I feel. So again, thank you guys. You make such a difference these days, and I appreciate it. And you guys are awesome. Stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Wow, love that.
Yeah.
So not only are we helping with the hurricane, we're helping her out with her pregnancy.
Yeah.
I don't know how. We didn't intend to do that. We weren't trying to do that.
We did.
But I'm glad that
we made it easier.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, that.
However, the podcast helps you. Some people, it helps them go to sleep. I think the sound of my voice maybe puts people to sleep.
I've heard that.
Yep, I've heard that too. That's cool. However you want to use it.
You're good with that.
I'm good with that.
All right, man.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Stephen Lato calling from the wonderful state of Ohio as well. First of all, I'll just get this out of the way that I've been listening to your podcast for a couple of years now, and I love it. Also listening to TCAT Unsolved and Criminology, and I love those too. I wanted to say regarding the whole thing about completing suicide rather than committing suicide. I'm an individual who has schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia plus depression in my case, and I am a suicidal person. Right now I'm not actively suicidal, but I just wanted to say I really appreciate the effort to include these new terms. The term committing suicide should be abolished. I love you guys, and I'm Team TCAT all the way. So stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
All right, that was Steven. So I want to start off, Gibbs, by saying to Steven that we love him too.
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate, hanging in with us. Sounds like almost from the beginning.
Yeah, listens to, not only the podcast that you and I do, but Criminology that Morph and I do. And I do think, it says a lot about Steven. I think it took a lot of guts to leave that voicemail. He was open. He was sharing a lot about himself. I really appreciate that. That's not an easy thing to do. So again, wanted to say we love you too, buddy, and hang in there, and we're always here for you. All right? No mailbag today.
No mail?
No mail. Didn't get any.
Didn't
get any.
Nothing good, huh?
So that is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.